If you're passionate enough about what you do, if you're good enough at what you do, all your dreams can come true in this town.
No matter what kind of music you make, there's a place for you here that you're gonna be liked and loved.
That's what put Nashville ahead of other places. It was heart and soul.
There's been this massive convergence of musicians from all around the world.
There really are no parameters, you know, there are no walls. You can do whatever you want to do in Nashville.
I love New York and I love LA, but Nashville is the place I want to come home to.
Nashville has always referred to itself around the world as Music City, and I think we will forever be known as a country music capital of the world. But Music City, if you look at it from a distance, that's a broad term.
Even if your genre of music isn't big in Nashville, chances are the roots where that music came from has had a place in Nashville.
And it was built on the kind of music that was being invented and developing in real time in this city, and it's all documented.
I'm gonna lay down this world, gonna shoulder up my cross, take it home to my Jesus, into that good news, good news.
The FISK school was established in 1866 with the purpose of educating the freed slaves.
The burden of being a Jubilee singer is heavy. It's very heavy because it comes with so much history.
When the school was running out of money and was about to be closed, they traveled all over the United States and raised $20,000.
Everybody listened to opera. Then comes the Negro spirituals, creating an entirely new form of music, an entirely new form of art, and then taking that art all over the entire world. And it started here, in this very building.
Good news, my Lord.
You'll hear the music of old-time fiddles, the singing, dancing, and fun of America's greatest tradition in entertainment. The Grand Ole Opry, live.
I think if you really go back to where it all began, I think we owe a lot to an insurance company, believe it or not, the National Life and Accident Insurance Company, who owned radio station WSM, which stood for We Shield Millions. And when WSM started a show on Saturday nights called the WSM Barn Dance to start with, and then later when they called it the Grand Ole Opry for the first time, it kind of put roots down here.
It wasn't, we're gonna be the country music mecca of the world. They're trying to sell insurance, you know, but it caught on.
Everybody could tell you Monday morning what song Roy Acuff sung and what joke Minnie Pearl or Rod Brassfield told or what song Hank Williams sung or what they said. The whole thing about the Grand Ole Opry, and it took on a mystique and an ambience that you couldn't imagine actually being there.
When I first arrived in the city, I felt really lost, you know. I had a suitcase, suit and tie, and my mandolin case, and that's all I have. And I thought, well, maybe I'm in the wrong place, so I went around to the other side of the Greyhound station and came face to face with the Ryman Auditorium. And it almost made me cry, because that was the place that I had listened to music come off of that stage and went straight to my heart with a 50,000-watt era behind it, you know?
There's something about standing on that stage, and the fact is it sounds fantastic. I mean, people come from all over to play there, and it's one of the most beautiful sounding rooms. It's a certain intangible, because they kept it, the sanctity of that inner room. you know that it's going to sound exactly as it did the night that Hank Williams first performed there.
When I was a junior in high school, a bunch of us kids got together and pooled money together to buy gas. We got somebody with a car, and we drove up to see Grand Ole Opry. And it was like, wow. You know, we just got to the land of Oz here. It was like everything was, there's the Ryman Auditorium, there's WSM, there's this, there's that, there's Ernest Tubb. There's Ernest Tubb Record Shop.
I go out walking after midnight, out in the moonlight, just like we used to do. I'm always walking after midnight, searching for you.
Everything else grew up here because the Grand Ole Opry was the trunk of the tree, it was the foundation, and the recording studios came here, the entertainers came here, the songwriters came here, the production people came here.
16th and 17th Avenue South was Music Row, and to me it was like, you know, heaven.
I stopped to see a weeping willow crying on his pillow.
And the thing that's interesting to me about Music Row, Owen Bradley and a couple other guys just basically made it up as they went. And, you know, these were just houses, just basically homes on a street. And they started making music, and hits started coming, and they needed more.
Owen Bradley was a genius, you know, and he's probably, I mean, he's responsible for modern day country. He's also probably partly responsible for rock and roll, if not completely responsible. I mean, he really was a pioneer, not only musically, but sound-wise. I mean, his records sounded a very special way. And I think that in order to have a really successful scene, you have to have visionaries. And he was one of them. Somebody like Owen Bradley was why Cowboy Jack decided to move up here from Memphis. You know, why these people who worked at studios decided to come here. It's because you could go to Owen Bradley's and he could make you sound like $1 million.
Well, I was raised in a town called Philadelphia, Mississippi, and we had a big console stereo in our living room. You know, it looked like a piece of furniture, but the thing I remember, it had the greatest bass. I mean, it would rattle the windows. There was just such a profound low end, and that was a direct link to Nashville, and this place here, Studio B. Many years later, I walked into the control room. Lester Flatt stood right over there, and I think I was here. And the band was around, but when we went back into that control room to listen to the playback, that same low end that rattled the windows of my house was rattling the walls in there. This room confounded the wires. It's a $30,000 Brico block building with some tile on the wall. People spend millions these days. And this, in my opinion, is a cathedral of American music. Some of the most notable people, master architects, musical architects that have ever stood before, you know, the light have stood in this room. That was 40 years ago, and I've never looked back.
The history of Nashville is very much intact, and you can feel it. I mean, you can feel it when you're in the Ryman, you can feel it when you're walking the sidewalk on Broadway. I mean, you can feel it in so many different parts of town. Wherever you are, you're reminded of people that have come before you. But there's always room to grow and to write that next song.
I hear something hanging on the wind. I see black smoke up around the bend. I got my ticket and I'm going to go home. The leaves have changed the time.
you know, looking back, when you talk about people like Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, and Loretta Lynn, those are our heroes. They really paved the way.
I have a fondness for old sounds, you know, and history in music, and Nashville just sort of fit the bill. I decided to move here, and it's like, it's been the greatest. I love it here.
So when Dan decided to move, like 2 weeks later, we were here playing a show at the Ryman, and I went and looked at houses, found a house, bought it, and just decided to move down.
I came to Nashville, I think in probably 91 or 92.
Once I first came for a writing session, I never left.
Well, we moved to Nashville not really knowing anyone, and John got the job with Garth Brooks as his production manager. So I got a job selling T-shirts for Garth.
You know, we have a lot of friends that are bands, and we would always tell them, man, you got to get to Nashville. It's like this uncharted territory.
I came to Nashville with a $20 bill and a clutch out of my car. You know, just one of those Nashville stories, and there are thousands of them here, the people that came to town on one leg, you might say, and that wanted to be here. That's how bad we wanted to be here.
And I remember walking down this actual street here and seeing a lot of people just sitting here, playing guitars and singing, and I was like, all right, that's my first gig, you know, this is what I gotta do. I would sing for hours throughout the night. People would come by and put money in my case. I got this fire, baby, burning inside. This kind of thing will keep you up all night. And I remember one particular night, I was playing in this very corner, and this guy walks by with a big black cowboy hat and a handlebar mustache, and he says, is that your own music? Like, is that your stuff? And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, you sound amazing. From this slow burn, hot like fire, melting in my desire. Can't seem to fight this urge, cause I'm haunted by this slow burn. He's like, play me something else. So I played another tune, and before I knew it, we were jamming together. We're trading off guitars, and he says, I want you to come hang with me. And at the time, I didn't know who the guy was. Later to find out it was John Rich from the country duo Big and Rich. And that's how I got my start here in Nashville.